It's good to see everybody. This is March 2nd, at least in the Western Hemisphere. And I'm Judy Neal, the host of this Edgewalker Cafe, and this March 2nd, 2023 for the recording. And we're really excited today to have as our guest, Joel Bennett. I have known Joel, 20 years. It feels like a long, long time. And Joel and I have had so many conversations and collaborations and paths crossing in so many ways. And so I'm really delighted to introduce Joel to you, and Joel will be doing our opening contemplation. So Joel is the president of Organizational Wellness and Learning System. And if you look at those initials, it is OWLS, Organizational Wellness and Learning Systems. And there's so much wisdom in that. I love that name. He's also the primary development of programs called Team Awareness and Teams Resilience, and has been doing those programs internationally for decades, getting recognition and awards for the kinds of programs he's won. His clients have spanned from National Guard to municipalities, hotels and restaurants and Native American governance, and just, an incredibly wide variety of applications for his work. But the reason it does that is because there's something so universal about the work itself that really helps to serve a breakthrough in thinking and a breakthrough in being, which is so much of what Edgewalkers is about. Joel's the author of numerous books, and I've read two of them. The ones I've read are Time and Intimacy, which blew my mind, and held me to a higher standard I still don't live up to, but it gave me something to live into. And Heart-Centered Leadership, which is something that we know is so much more needed in the world today. And he's been very active in the Management, Spirituality, and Religion interest group. We hope soon to be a division. The division application went in a few weeks ago. That will be transformative if MSR, yes, becomes a division. And we think it will. We think we've got a very good chance. And so Joel is in many communities, and also, now I'm forgetting the name of it in Dallas, Fort Worth, that you're...
The DFW OD Network.
OD Network, yes. Often doing presentations and bringing in other people, building networks and community and sharing ideas and practices, and really helping to lift the field. That's who you are, Joel. You help to lift the field, and you're going to do that with us today. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Wow, Judy, what an introduction. So we submitted to AOM something on global consciousness and management, right?
We did.
So I have to give a shout out to Judy, because there aren't too many people in the field of management studies talking about global consciousness.
More and more every day now.
Yes.
So I have to ask before we get in, been any progress on that front? I know this is, because it is going to relate to what we're talking about.
Oh, huge progress. So the couple of sort of announcements is we have applied for our 501c3 status as the Global Consciousness Institute. So we have grants of $30,000 to begin with, to do some projects called Mapping the Terrain, which is actually finding out who else is playing in this particular sandbox, in this particular planet, in this particular galaxy. And we are also doing some curriculum development with international collaborators in India and in Singapore. But all of it is around leadership and global consciousness to help create heart-centered leaders, and their heart is at the heart of the universe. So we got a lot of work going on. And it's
That's great. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, we can ask people to check in and say where you are. And Joel, maybe that's a good place for you to start, is to say where you are.
Yeah, I am in North Texas, right here on Lake Louisville in a town called Highland Village. And I'm also a block away from my three grandchildren.
You lucky guy.
Yeah, so that's how I position myself in the world, right?
But I was also referring to your introduction before we came together online with everybody. The introduction of, I think somebody asked you where you are, one of our
All
facilities.
right, that one, yes, I said, well, there's this thing called the universe, and then I kind of boiled it down, and then you keep going, and then you end up in Texas.
And I should give a shout out to the Edgewalker facilitators who are on today. Actually, I can't see everybody, but I know that Patricia Campanile and Ellis Ralph and Sandra Bargeman and Peggy O'Neill and Susan Furness, and I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but we have a community of Edgewalker facilitators who've been trained in the work and who support the Edgewalker Cafe and support the shift of consciousness in the universe. So welcome to all of our community members.
Yeah, and there will be an opportunity in a breakout to interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I can figure out how to do that. But hey, let's get started. So we begin with a contemplation, right?
Yes.
So welcome everyone. And as you come in, please go ahead and in the chat box, tell us where you're from. And if you put down, the Milky Way, that's perfectly fine. So here, this is my little, tool here, right? Right. So I always like to say, here we are.
Mm.
Okay, everyone get that?
Yes.
Here we are. Okay, not here, not here, not here. Here we are. And here we are.
Ah.
Here we are. So it's not just about being here now. It's also about being here for the whole time of our life. And there is a whole area in ontology on this concept of whole time. So the first thing we want to recognize as we go into this contemplation, that I'm not just asking you to be here, I'm asking you to be in the whole time of this happening life. So the first thing I want you to do is close your eyes and check in with how present you feel right now. And see if you can give that a number. So a 1 would be you're tuned out, you're distracted, emotions are coming up that are getting in the way of your attention, you have low energy, where's my coffee, what's happening? That's a 1. And a 10 is you're totally here, present, paying careful, mindful attention to the moment to moment dripping of the sand in the entire hourglass. Check in and just give yourself a number. Breathe deep into that. How present am I? Without judgment, with complete acceptance. It's okay if you're a 1. It's okay if you're a 3. You don't have to be on. Just note where you are. And what I'd like you to do is in the chat box, if you're open to doing it as an option, is to write your number in the chat box. What is your current state of presence when you're ready to do that? And now I'm going to ask you to reflect on global consciousness that we were talking about a moment ago with Judy. Currently, there are 3 psychological forces that interfere with humanity's ability to be present. This varies across cultures and across countries, but I'm going to list these three. And I want you to just check in with yourself about these. And there are others, but these are three that have been rising to the top. The first is perfectionism, having to be on, having to achieve, having to get to the next mountain, whatever that is, the drive to achieve, to meet time in clock time pressure. We know from the research that that has been increasing over the past several decades. So check in with yourself on perfectionism as something that might take away from your presence. Is that happening? Because it's not just about now, it's about what happens after you leave here today. Will perfectionism be a challenge for you? The second one is what people call fear of missing out. Social media, smartphones, constant media, mediation, the onslaught of advertising that keeps people in this, what's next? I don't want to miss out. I have to get to the next thing. I better go there. I should have been there. So for yourself, note whether or not fear of missing out is a challenge for you as you move forward from today. Be honest with yourself about these. And the third one is imposter syndrome, that you are not who you think you are, or you're afraid that people might think you're somebody different than who you are. Your full self is not embodied. You're a mask, your persona. That takes us away from being present because we're always scanning instead of just being. So check in for yourself if that's coming up for you. So thinking about being present to your whole life, to what's going to happen next, to your day, I want you to repeat to yourself internally, I am enough. I am enough. I have enough. I have enough. I do enough. I do enough. Drink those in. Let that soak into your heart. I am enough. I have enough. I do enough. Breathe it into your heart. And as you sit with that, notice if there's been a shift in your presence. Is there a different quality to your presence than your first rating? Just note that. And in a moment, we'll stop and I'll begin the work of presenting, and we'll have a chance to meet in breakout groups too. So welcome, welcome when you're ready to open your eyes and come back. Anybody want to share what happened as a result of that? Just a quick share. Go ahead, Patricia.
So what was interesting for me is that I say I'm a reformed perfectionist and a reformed imposter. So what I haven't checked in with this on a while, and I realized in those two areas, I've really evolved a lot since, let's say I was younger, I'm even 10 or 20 years. So they used to really run me. So just being able to do this and drop in, having that perspective of how I've evolved, it's still a journey. I'm not quite there yet, but how I've kind of worked through a lot of that actually felt very affirming. The FOMO, I'm not quite there yet. And that kind of motivates me a lot with my life, more about travel and life is an adventure and a smorgasbord, and I want to do everything. That's still very, very present for me. But what I really got in that moment of centering is I'm missing out on the moment when I'm always looking forward to the next thing I want to do. So it's taking away the now. So that's what I would share. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, it's beautiful. Yeah. No, this is the point of this.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Curious Carrot Chakri who wants to share?
Yes. Thank you, Joel. That was phenomenal. For me, the whole thing was the water was coming up again and again. Water from a brook. And I have a friend who tells the story about the first water molecules showing up in the universe. And he muses whether thirst came first or those water molecules in the origin of the universe. And so those are the things that were coming up for me. And I kind of, the I have enough, I am enough was kind of triggering me probably. And that's what probably took me to the water, because I wanted to dissolve. I think the dissolution of the I is been my theme for the last couple of weeks. So in that, and I was just a lot of gratefulness. I think the grief that I was dealing with was kind of getting dissolved in the gratitude I have for, especially of my fairy godmother who's posting stuff in the chat as I'm talking about. Thank you, Judy.
Wait, you have a fairy godmother?
Yes, Judy.
How many else has Judy as their fairy godmother? Anyone else here willing to admit that? Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to start sharing my screen and kind of giving you some content orientation. I do want to say that there are people here, in addition to Judy and Susan and Patricia and Ellis. We have Danette Manzi here, who's been doing work with this project, and Cynthia Canigliaro. So you might get to know them in the breakout rooms. So I try to keep this to a minimum amount of time, and because I want to do more interaction, but I do have a lot to share beyond just what's happening now, because we're really trying to build a community. We are inviting you to be part of a community. And my hope is that Judy and we can continue to collaborate. This is our logo. And the reason we have the planet in the center of the logo is that we think the primary problem is that we're not really present to our own humanity. And humanity is not really present to what's really happening. And all the things I just mentioned, fear of missing out, perfectionism, and imposter syndrome only exist because of blind adherence to clock time. We have drunk the Kool-Aid of clock time, and people all around the globe have no clue that there's a different time than clock time. It underlies, I don't talk about stress anymore. I talk about an unhealthy attitude toward time. That's the fundamental issue. So this is designed to be a wake-up call. The word quest, if you've read the book, and you have the link here, you can go here and download it for free, the Connoisseur book, is a verb. It's not a noun. It's a call to action, quest for presence. So I have a few announcements. On our website, we're doing podcasts. I've been a guest. This will be entered in as well. So please feel free to listen. And if you know anybody who's interested in this work and might be interested in being on our podcast or interacting, please let us know. That's one update, and you can get this link as well. Also, just yesterday, I was interviewed in the 25th anniversary issue of Spirituality and Health magazine. So please go ahead. It's available. These are all free content. I hope you get to read it. I was interviewed by the editor, and I'm very excited about that. Also, book 1 is going to be released very soon. And so if you're interested in being a pre-reader, because this is self-published, we rely on pre-readers to potentially provide testimonials, but that's not a obligation. But you'll get all this information if you're interested in becoming a pre-reader of book 1. But the point of all of this is, I actually have worked with Native Americans, and I was given a Native American name. And when I tell you my Native American name, as you might know, the name doesn't describe who you are, but it describes your destiny beyond any identity you might have. So in Oneida, my name is Yate Yotnaki, Yate Jotni'i. And it means, this is my name, it's not about you. That's the name that I have been given. It's not about you, okay? And let me tell you, it's a hard one. So community is everything to me. And we really encourage you to be part of this community. And if you know how to walk around like a penguin, you kind of put your hands out like this, and that's all you need. That's the only requirement to be in the community. Is that okay? You scared? Can you do that? Okay, so you're invited to participate, but go at your own pace in everything that happens, everything that we're doing. So we also have a Facebook group. And if you've read the book, somebody sent this to me about our dolphin story. So feel free to join there. But all of that's background. The key now is checking in. We've already checked in, but I do want to do it again. On a scale of 1 to 10 in the chat box, how present are you now? Again, right? Here we are. Where are we now? How are you feeling? And as you're doing that, I'm going to proceed to the next. Presence is the whole mandala, right? So we also work, and I know this is a lot of information with this mandala, which you'll see over and over again. And presence is the whole mandala, but it's also in a holographic universe. It's the center of the mandala. So one of the aspects of the mandala is the center, right? The center. And the center is presence. So when you check in with your presence, present to now, present to your whole life, which is the mandala principle in Tibetan, Kilkor. The mandala as a representation in art and in Buddhist iconography is really just a representation of a deep Buddhist spiritual principle that the entire universe is a periphery and there's a center. And yeah, a lot to talk about there. But there's another part of the mandala that I've been really focusing on a lot lately, which has to do with perfectionism, fear of missing out, right? Is pace. So when we look at time, time has many different facets. These trajectories are time, scheduling, timing, scheduling, routine, pace. But pace is becoming such an issue that we need to make sure we also check in on our pace. So here's the next check-in. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is, really the truth is in the middle tends to be really where we want to hang out. 10 is fast-paced, rushed, having to get somewhere, FOMO, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, busy, busy, busy. A good way you know whether you're a 10 is if you've been saying, I'm too busy more than once a day, right? Or if you're always using the excuse, I'm too busy. 1, on the other hand, is too slow, lethargic, tuned out, dragging on, stuck, depressed. So on a scale of 1 to 10 on pace, go ahead and check in where you are right now in your experience of your life right now. And what we're doing is we're starting here to articulate this language of time in a more intentional, healthy way, just by checking in and being with being present with what's going on, being present to pace. And you can see in a chat box where people are and where you are. Now, there are certain cosmic forces, and we're not going to have time today, but one of the ones that's also important here is chaos. So form at the bottom, chaos at the top, time shaping to the right, and nurturing conditions or temporal context to the left. And this is in time and intimacy that Judy was talking about. So how is the force of chaos in your life happening now? Is there a lot of interruption? Has there been a lot of disruption? Has there been adversity? Has there been stress? Have there been recent losses, right? Where you start to recognize that in the Buddhist canon, dukkha, right? Suffering, things falling apart. How much of that is happening? And that's a deeper dive into the mandala. Just notice that. No rating here, just notice. And then there are the treasures. So I'm going to talk about the treasures. The treasures are always happening, and they're always available to us. And these aren't all the treasures, but these are the ones that we focus on. So just notice for a second whether in the past day you've had an experience of any of these momentary dharmic arisings. You know, they're really about I consider these the glints of light on the watercourse way of the Tao, right? That's what this is. These are the moments of seeing. So just notice in the past day, have you experienced spontaneity, momentousness, fulfillment, clutch, which is that victory, you know, oh, I got this, optimism, effortlessness, ordinariness, coherence, which things just fell together, right? Fit, adoration, resonance, patience. And I always tell people, yes, patience is a treasure. Preciousness, savoring, poignance, release, or awe, because they're there, right? These are the treasures. So what does it mean to have a healthy relationship with time? Why did you come here to spend your time with us? I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and this is going to be very quick. You're only going to have a few minutes to get to know each other. But the question is, what's coming up for you? What are you noticing so far? Get to know each other, and I'll see you. Is that clear, the instructions here? And anything you want to talk about, chaos, treasures, pacing, presence, the treasures, whatever comes up for you. Here we are, is right. Actually, we ran out of time. Look at that. Oh, I better turn it over. So anybody want to share an insight that they got from listening in their group? Yes, Susan?
Yeah, I feel my group could add something. So I was going to either Susie or Alexandra. Would one of you like to come on and see what we took from our little session? Suze, do you want to?
I was going to leave it to Alexandra because I thought, as she was the young person in the group with the greatest currency.
Okay, so Alexandra, we're looking forward to hearing from the youth.
Yes, hello everyone. So what I was mentioning in my group, it was that often I'm seeing time as something that I'm moving through. For example, if I'm walking, I think it's really easy to identify how we're moving through space, but not that often we're realizing that we're just moving forward in time. And related to that as well as time is a very good indicator for how things are so ephemeral and they just keep on getting old. I was saying, although the society tries to make us forget about that, it's truth in that, and I think time is an indicator for that.
Say that last part, that time is what? That. Just say it again. Just say what you said at the end so I make sure I heard it.
I think I said it's a good indicator that things are ephemeral and we're moving. I'm not sure what I
No,
just
no,
said.
yeah, because it's very important. What you're saying is if you can sense that things are ephemeral,
Mhm.
that's a good indicator.
Yeah, time is something that somehow reminds me of that when I acknowledge it.
Yeah. Yeah. Timelessness, right? A sense of something transcendent, right? A sense that there's more to the clock. Alexandra?
Mhm.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm seeing some, Ellis, did you have a comment that you wanted to make? I see a note here. Ellis, did you have, how long or short your plan for the breakout? Okay, I get it. So yeah, so on the breakouts, I apologize. It's just the nature of the breakouts. There's not a warning sign. So I will do my best to tell you exact how much time, and I'll try and send you a message so you know for the next breakout. I will tell you though, even though I've done this many times, there's never enough time in the breakout.
I was just thinking it might be good to let people know if it's 3 minutes or 10 minutes. Or
Yeah, I'm
something.
sorry. I thought I did, so I apologize. But I will do that. Make sure next time. But the truth is, it still doesn't matter. And that's because of the relationship between time and intimacy. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But when does this end? By speaking of.
We end at, hypothetically, we end at the top of the hour, and we've been finding it harder and harder to keep to that. So we often spill over just a little bit, and some people usually have to leave at the top of the hour. But we're flexible.
Very quickly and try to get us some more time together. Because today, of course, it's just a teaser. We can only cover so much, but this is my life, so I'm happy to talk about it. So when we think about this work, of course, from a curriculum standpoint, we need objectives. So the most important objective is to discover and embody the treasures of this happening life, to cultivate a richer and more intricate language of time beyond clock time, and to tap into the soulful capacities that make this entire quest, noun, more joyful, uplifting, and loving. That's the key to this work. And the treasures of life that we experience are born from and for the evolution of our soul. When we experience that, just like Alexandra was saying, when she talked about that ephemerality, that's the soul. That is the soul, right? In our breakout group, someone was talking about feeling awe in their life, for just awe for living. That's the soul, right? And we have to remind ourselves that these treasures that are on the surface, they're deep, but there's something else going on. There's something deeper going on. And this is the deeper process of time weaving, but not clock time weaving. It's the weaving of our whole life. That's the mandala. That's the tapestry, right? That's what we're talking about here. So the key here, and I encourage you to download the book because you'll walk through this exercise, is to imagine that you're standing on this threshold between your current attitude towards time and this whole new attitude. It may not be new for some of you, and it's always new, right? Because with clock time, there's no newness. That's the problem. It's always this drill, mechanistic drill. And so what we're doing here is this three-part process of slowing down, pausing, showing up, and listening. So this exercise is on pages 19 to 23. And I'm going to just ask you to quickly identify for now, which of these is most true of where you are currently in your attitude towards time. And just write that number in. Which of these is most true? And the full exercise is in the book. And just write your number in. if you don't mind. You don't have to write it in, but you can, because I'm going to ask you in a moment to go back into the breakout group to do some more sharing. Now, as you make your rating, as you share what you identify with, notice the feeling that you have. Notice the feeling that you have. I'll wait another 30 seconds. Now I'd like you to look at this list and identify the number that you're most drawn to, that you're most attracted to. Which number, which statement do you feel is calling you to, this is where I want to live my life from. This is the space and time that I want to embrace through this attitude. And as you make your rating, notice your feeling. Notice your feeling. Now I'm going to go to the next slide. Can you see that slide? It's listing different feeling states. Just to prompt you, which of the feelings here, or what feeling most resonates with you in terms of what you're attracted to, but also what are you yearning for? Or what is it that you're in that gap between where you currently are and where you want to go? That's the threshold. That's what I think edge walking really at a temporal level is. It's that threshold between this world and that world, right? So I wanted to make sure this fit with the whole edge walking philosophy, because when we're doing deep edge walking work, we are living between the world of clock time, right? And this other time that I want you to have a language for. So notice whatever feelings come up for you. And I'm going to put you in a breakout group to share the same breakout group. And you will have, because of our time, 5 minutes, okay? And that should give us enough time to come back and process. Judy, is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so share your feelings about this exercise, your statement, whatever comes up for you. Well, welcome back. I hope that was less abrupt. Did you still want more time?
Always.
My hypothesis. So we're going to send this recording out, so you'll have access to this whole recording. Anybody want to quickly comment? We only have a few more minutes, and I want to give you a few more things to mull over. And as Judy said, we'll spend till after the top of the hour for those who can. Who would like to share any insights from what they found in their group? Hi, Pierre. We'll take care of you. You'll get a recording if someone wants to message him.
I will.
Any thoughts, any statements, any feelings that came up?
Well, Joel, you said something that pacing had something to do with, you said hormonal.
Yeah, I'll just say there's so much to this work. I mean, it's endless.
That's fascinating.
So if you don't mind, Patricia, I'll share that the feeling for Patricia was the peace, right? I don't know if anyone else had peace or yearning for peace, right? And the way I was hearing it, if you don't mind, Patricia, was
no, go ahead. Sure.
needing more pacing in her life, right? Learning how to pace ourselves. And I just said one of the strong influence on pacing is our hormonal cycle, our biological clock, our sleep-wake cycle, right? So just to be mindful, that's one influence on that, that this also does relate to health and biology, this work, right? If you're interested in that, I strongly recommend not only my stuff, but Dan Pink's book, When. Dan Pink wrote a book a few years ago called When, and that's a great book to start to understand those the factors that influence timing and pacing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. But we're, like I said, this is a community. So these questions are, because each one of you is a time weaver. You're all time weavers. You've demonstrated that to me. And it's just empowering you around that. So in the last few minutes, unless there's a burning question or thought, I thought I'd give you a little bit more to mull over. Is that okay? So as you look at this work, the other thing to recognize is that instead of thinking about now, instead of using the word be here now or being present, which I actually think is overused, think about what's happening and what just happened and what's about to happen. Because life is happening. The word hap comes from a long ago etymological root of both happenstance and happiness. Guess what, guys? What a phenomena. So, and hap is also chance or luck. So there's a recognition that it's by chance that you all showed up here today, right? That you are here today at this moment for a very particular reason, that the universe conspired. Why are you here at this session, at this time, at this moment in your life? There's a reason that this is happening. And life just doesn't happen to you, you happen to life, okay? So when we think about it from that perspective, you either are early or late to being able to recognize, oh, I missed that. What was that? And that's the people will walk away from this going, oh, I get it. Oh, I didn't get it. Oh, I got it. No, I didn't get it. It's that ephemeral nature that Alexandra talked about. It's how our consciousness works. So then there's earlier and there's later. There's earliest and there's latest. The truth is that all of these are, even if you show up early to the happening, it's still happening in that moment. Even if you show up late to that moment, it's still happening. How many of you showed up late to something and you got anxious? How many of you showed up early to something and you got anxious? Well, that's just king clock, right? That's all that is. You are still happening at that moment. And if we go deeper, there's long ago, okay? And there's also, where does it all come from, right? And where's it all going? So this is the one dimension, and I'll try and get through this quickly, but there's also the dimension of private time and public time. Oh my, there's so much research on how we experience private time and how we experience public time. So right now, hopefully you're feeling that this is our time together, but in a few minutes, we're going to be apart. Does that mean that you're alone? Does that mean that you're lonely? This axis right here has been informed by the work of Paul Ricoeur, Emmanuel Levinas, Martin Buber. They all talk about this very thing. So there's the here and now intimacy, and then there's reminiscence, right? In one of the breakout groups, I heard someone reminiscing, right? There's also the situation we're in right now. We're in this situation. So we're talking about contexts, but there's also, we get perspective over time. There's the phase. So right now, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's say right now, I'm in an extended phase relationship with Judy Neal, 20 freaking years. Right? I have Cynthia's on the call. I've been with Cynthia for 2 years. It's possible that right now some of you I'm at a beginning relationship with. Who knows? Peggy and I are getting to know each other. So that's advancing. And there's a whole language of how relationships advance. And then it moves into wisdom at the internal side. And then there's, at the objective, there's holo time. So the idea that the universe, I mean, a big jump here, but just as a hologram works in spatial terms, the universe also works in temporal terms. So you know that in the hologram, every single element represents the entire part. Well, every single moment represents eternity. And eternity represents every single moment. And that's the work of the Course in Miracles, right? And archetypal time, of course, it's happening internally there, right? So all of this to say that because of our time here, I'm going to move past this slide very quickly to say that as we finish up today, I'm going to get to the next slide just to show you something that, guess what? The treasures are always there percolating, bouncing around like little quantum fields, right? They're always there. They're playing in the background. And the work of our soul is to tap into them. right? That's what this is all about, to move off the treadmill and to enter into your precious happening life. So I'll just say before ending here, we do have our next workshop coming up in April 18th, and I'll share more information about that if you're interested in digging into this beyond the other ways you can participate. So Judy, I wanted to make sure I got us to 11. I know I rushed there at the end, but hopefully it gave you, at least it gave curious Carrot Chakri something to mull over.
And entice him. Actually, I think he said he read the book, and you have more books coming, Joel. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll do some announcements, and then we'll close. Yeah,
at the very beginning of this, I gave information about that. I'll try and grab that. We are looking for advanced readers. Book 1 is almost out. It's The Map and the Radiant Forces. And if you're wanting to be an advanced reader, you get a really good chunk of the book. And I'm sure Judy will send out that announcement. Mm-hmm. And we can also get you to be an advanced reader. I will send a link in the chat box. I also mentioned that Spirituality and Health magazine just came out with an article interview with me. Yeah, so there's a link to that. And if you email me or respond to that, it's a quick questionnaire that says, yes, I agree to read the book and not send it out to every one of my friends. Yeah, so so go ahead, Judy. I think that was it. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so we will follow up with the Edgewalker community to send all these incredible resources and invitations and opportunities and community connections to Joel and the work you're doing, Joel. So we're just so grateful to have you here today. I love this. I just love this, and I want more. So I'm sure many people do as well. We're going to do a quick announcement about next month's Edgewalker Cafe, and I'm going to turn it over to Susan Furness for her announcement of a panel she's running.
Thank you, Judy. I nearly forgot that was me then. Yes. Thank you, Joel, so much, and to you and your team. And thank you, everybody, for being with us today. And on April the 6th, we will be hosting our next Edgewalker Cafe. And Blow Me Down, yes, it's the 4th month of the year. So that really talks something about, the way time flies, doesn't it? And Joel, you also mentioned at the off, about the importance of building community. And about 20 months ago, we had a cafe around the essence of community. And indeed, we do think this is so important. And I know many of you on screen do too. Suze, you always speak about that too, about, the importance of the currency of community. And so I'm going to host a cafe with a panel of 4 talking about holding responsibility for that community space, particularly when it's a learning community, in this cyber world where often we get content obesity and information starvation. So just really how, that really becomes a nugget, a currency, and really capitalizing the capital in community and content and conversation. So we'll see you then, and we'll let you know in a newsletter and other posts. So thank you, Judy. Back over to you.
Thank you, Susan. It sounds like that is going to build so much on the work that was done today and the work that was done in last month's Edgewalker Cafe with Joseph Lee that was hosted by Sandra Bargman. I feel like we're creating a curriculum here, not intentionally, but somehow all these things are interweaving, and I think helping us all to come to presence in a universe that may appear chaotic, but that we can shift that reality. That's one of the things Peggy O'Neill talks about, is our relationship to the consciousness of oneness. versus the consciousness of separation. And so we're learning together, we're growing together, and the world needs us to be doing that. So Joel, once again, thank you so much. This was rich, it was fun, it was disturbing at times, and we are under the illusion that we're out of time right now, but we have fully used this time, and it was precious. So thank you all. I'm going to ask Joel and the Edgewalker facilitators to stay on just a minute if you can, just to reconnect, and we'll let the rest of you go. And thank you all for being here today. It was precious to have you as a part of our community.
Namaste or nama leave.
Thank you.